Hello, 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 hello. Being cis and straight is the norm. That means that if you are anything other than that, then you have to come out. You have to explicitly tell someone that no, you're not getting a girlfriend. And no, I would like to be called by these pronouns. And oftentimes, because of people's attitudes and preconceived notions of what it means to be gay or to be asexual or whatever, it's very difficult and it's very stressful. And even if you know that someone will accept you, it's worrying to think about how their opinion of you will change. So, I thought I would share my advice about coming out. This will be geared towards asexuality, as opposed to coming out as gay. But I imagine you'll be able to apply what I'm saying to most other experiences of coming out. So, without further ado, let's get on with the video. Just a disclaimer, I guess, before we start. You really don't have to come out. Sexuality is very personal. And like I said, it can be scary to come out to people. So you really have to do it when you're comfortable and if you're comfortable. So really, even if people around you are coming out, don't feel pressured. Do it if you need to and when you want to. So, in my mind, there are 3 different important groups of people that you can come out to. Your friends, someone you want to have a relationship with, and your family. These are very different cases and I think they should be treated differently. So I'll go over them separately. So, friends. I want to start with friends because honestly, I think you should start with friends. Unlike family, you choose your friends. If you choose your friends well, they are people who will accept you no matter who you are. So hopefully, coming out to friends should go smoothly. But I know that sometimes you can get along well with people who maybe aren't 100% accepting of all people, of all sexualities, of all gender identities. So it's important first to suss out their opinions. A good question to ask is whether they have any LGBT plus friends. You don't have to ask it directly, but maybe mentioning you saw something on TV about, I don't know, gay rights or something like that, or you read an article about asexuality. It doesn't have to be coming out. You can mention the topic offhand. It's also good to think about what kind of area and background they come from. If it's a very liberal area and country, then they're more likely to be accepting. If they're from a conservative background, however, they may have more conservative opinions. Of course, that isn't always the case because society in general has become more liberal and accepting, and that wouldn't have happened if people's opinions were always the same as how they were brought up. I think to start out, you should probably tell one friend who you trust to accept you. They don't have to be your best friend in the world, but if you know that you can confide in them, then that will help ease the process. And once you've come out to them, it will be a lot easier to come out to the next person, and the next person, and the next person. It also helps if you can make friends with other LGBT plus people. They can help share their experiences of coming out and maybe make you feel more comfortable about yourself before you share that with other people. Secondly, we have relationship people. People with whom you want a relationship. If this person is ace or on the ace spectrum or arrow spectrum, great, you probably don't have a problem. Unfortunately, not everyone you're going to have a crush on or want to be in a relationship with are going to be ace. But that doesn't mean you can't have a relationship with them, and that doesn't mean that they won't accept you. I think the best thing to do is to first bring it up once. Let them know that you're asexual or you're on the ace spectrum. Let them research it. maybe point them towards sites like Avon and other ACE resources which maybe you found useful for yourself. It's okay not to be comfortable and willing to explain your whole sexuality and the breadth of the ACE spectrum to someone that you've probably just met. And if they are interested in dating you as well, then they will put the effort in to find out what asexuality is. But of course, everyone's sexuality is different and everyone's sexuality is unique. They can read all that they want. They may understand the ACE spectrum better than anyone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll understand you. At some point, you do need to have a proper conversation to them about what your sexuality means to you. I would leave it a date or two after telling them about it and letting them research it. And that way, the knowledge has time to sink in and it's not so much of a shock, I suppose. Then you can start to discuss what sort of things you're comfortable with, where your boundaries are, what things you want out of a relationship, and then they can decide for themselves whether that is something that they want to be a part of. Of course, some people won't accept it, and that isn't wrong. They have every right to want to be in a sexual relationship or to want to be sexually intimate with someone. That doesn't make them a bad person. I know it can feel like there's this one thing about you that ruins your chances of being in a relationship, but there will be people, ACE or otherwise, who will accept you despite that, who will be happy being in a relationship where there isn't that sexual component, or at least where you can make a compromise between your two wants and desires. But above all, don't compromise on your boundaries in a relationship. If the person loves you, if the person wants to be in a relationship with you, they won't cross those lines. But of course, people aren't mind readers, and you have to express what you are comfortable with and express what maybe makes you queasy about sex. Because if you don't do that, they won't know. I've said that it's not necessary to come out as asexual, but I think in the context of a relationship, it is important too. A romantic relationship is a very intimate thing, and you'll get to know someone better than you know anyone else. So it is important going into that commitment that both people know what they're getting into. And unfortunately, that means disclosing your asexuality. I think that's important. And finally, family. Family is an interesting one. It's just something you start with when you're born. You don't have any sort of choice in the matter on who is your family. They're just blood relatives. But they are the first people you know, and for most people they will stay an important part of your life until you die. But since you don't decide who your family is, you may not get along well with them. They may hold views which are completely different to yours. So I think that while it is important for a lot of people to come out to their family, it is also perhaps the most risky and dangerous aspect of coming out. I would recommend that you first make sure you're safe coming out to family. If you're still living at home and you suspect that your parents or your siblings may react badly to it, I would avoid coming out. You don't want to risk being kicked out of your house or being constantly harassed because of your sexuality. If possible, I would wait until you leave home, until you're independent, to come out to those family members who may give you hassle because of it. A lot of the same things that I've said earlier in the video apply here as well. Take into account what your family has said about the LGBT+ community, whether you think they'll be accepting. Maybe come out to a closer family member who is more liberal first. You don't have to explain it all in one go. Just tell them, this is asexuality, look it up. Maybe not that bluntly, because it's kind of rude. It isn't on you to explain every single detail. It's important to weigh up the pros and cons of coming out to each individual person, and that's something that I do most days. Because unfortunately, coming out is a continuous process. Unless you wear a shirt that says, I am asexual, you're going to have to say it to everyone you come across, or at least you're going to have to make the conscious decision whether or not to tell everyone you come across. Majority of people, there's no need. But the people who are important to you, maybe you should consider it. But then again, no pressure, do it when you're ready and only if you want to. I hope you found this advice useful. This is the first time that I've made notes in 3 months and 21 days. Maybe more. If you have any further advice about coming out as asexual or gay or anything in between, then voice them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear the stuff you have to say. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. I post videos every Saturday, so if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. And that's all I had to say today. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see you next time. With sleeves. Without sleeves. As I have come out to many people, as I have come out to a handful of people, probably never seen me in sleeves before. It's a new thing for me too. Point them to YouTube videos.